So you have this this moment after Paul's passing where you felt God's presence. Where do we go from there in your story?
Okay, so then I went on, had another little girl, Christy. So I had an older daughter, Katie, Katie was born. Then I had 2 more miscarriages. Then I had Paul, and then Christy after Paul died. So it was just raising the girls and, just pretty much moving on with life. When 6 years after Paul died, I was diagnosed with post-polio syndrome. And I had not even heard of that. I didn't know what it was, but I had been doing something, and all of a sudden I felt this huge pain in my arm and didn't know what it was, and ended up going to doctors for months, actually trying to figure out what it was. And finally somebody said, "Do you think this is related to polio?" And I thought, no, I don't think it's related to polio, but went to a polio clinic in Boston, and that's when they diagnosed me with post-polio. And what post-polio syndrome is it happens to about 70% of the people who have polio. And the way they explained it to me is when you get polio, your primary motor neurons die, which is why I was a quadriplegic. But then you get secondary motor neurons, which sprout up, and they sort of take that place. So you're able to do things that you couldn't do when you first got polio. But they said those secondary motor neurons have a limited life. And so they're not like primary ones where you exercise and you can constantly rebuild them. And so they said they come with a certain amount of energy, and when you wear them out, they're gone. And so they basically told me to stop doing everything that I was doing. I love to cook. I love to paint. I love to do all of those things. And they said, you've only got a certain amount of energy. So the more you do, the weaker you're going to get. So I had to give up so much of what I was doing. And I kind of joke around that I was totally fine giving up vacuuming and dusting and all of those things, but it was a lot harder to give up painting, cooking, having friends over, doing stuff with my girls. And I could still do things, but not the same way. And I was pretty addicted to scrapbooking, and I had to give that up. So just a lot of.
And you had to give it up because of the pain, or because they said, wait one day, if you don't give it up now, you're going to be paying for it later?
Yes, it was a little bit because of the pain, but more because they said, if you don't do it now, you will be paying for it. And One of the things they said when I said, what happens if I don't make these changes? Like I can't, I can't do all of this at once. And I remember the one said to me, if you don't do this in 10 years, someone will be feeding you.
Wow.
So, and, my kids were young at the time. I was in my 30s. And so I thought, well, I can't have somebody feeding me in 10 years. So that brought reality, kind of front and center. So that is why I stopped doing all of those things. Now, I didn't stop doing all of them right away, but within a few years I got voice recognition software, which is what I use now. I got an adapted van, which I didn't have before. So I really had to make radical changes in my life as a result of that diagnosis.